Thank you. Just a quick thank you for your sustained interest so far. Also for coming out tonight on an evening that was arguably more conducive to standing outside of a pub with a pint. It's hopefully not too cold out there, so you can do that afterwards and after the cocktails which are coming up. Now I'm going to summarise just a few of the things that we've heard this evening, but I'm going to summarise with slides, which means it's not just going to be stuff that we've heard tonight. The question was asked earlier about ad serving HTML5. Hopefully you've seen a lot about HTML5. Now, Ben and also Charlotte, who unfortunately has had to pass off, did some great work, as we saw with We Are Tennis, and hopefully gave you a bit of an insight into a life of a campaign, from the pitch into the actual delivery, and how new technologies are actually starting to make a big difference of how we approach campaign development. Also, of course, we have Paul and his great insight into the capabilities from a technical perspective of HTML5. Now, I know that that will hopefully have incited a bit of excitement in some of you as to the feasibilities, but we want to look more along the lines of quite how we can work that into an ad-serving environment. Of course, it's the industry that we all work in. And really interesting, Emily, the insights we've had, thank you for those, on rich media advertising. Of course, that was Flash, less HTML5, but we can hopefully assume that the same theories can be applied to a different development language. So, what I'm going to just quickly run through. Now, there's a big sticker on this saying that the green button is next slide. The buttons are red and green, out of interest, so if you're colorblind, no idea what's going to happen. Marvelous, thank you. Why is HTML5 so important? Okay, so this is where we get into the ad serving aspect. Adrian did say that we're not really going to be salesy. Sorry, wasn't entirely true. Okay, so why is HTML5 for sports so important? Now, you're creative agencies, so I'm fairly certain that at some point you will have promised your clients this message, that you promised to give, dear client, please employ us. We're going to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time. You will all at some point have included that, almost verbatim, I would imagine, within your pitch. That was all very well and good, and you're out there designing these wonderful rich media campaigns, and then all of a sudden, these chaps come in and ruin it for everyone. You suggested earlier that it's irritating having to redev everything just for these guys. Unfortunately, that's the state of the industry. We're going to have to be reactive, as we always have been thus far. Now it's slightly more work for us because we have to learn a new language by actually working out what the hell HTML5 actually means in the first place. Then employing the guys to start doing the dev work and then start pitching that into clients. Clients who likely took a little while to come around to the idea of Flash in the first place. It's not an easy transition. You guys are going to have some tough times ahead of you. And these guys added just a little level of complexity to this message. You now have to deliver the right message to the right people at the right place, as well as the right time. It's this right place, the prevalence of mobile that's really had this big impact. Just to give you some stats, it's a little boring, but actually just an insight of how mobile is taking off. YouTube video viewership, for example. There are over 1 million unique views of YouTube every day on mobile. This is just mobile devices, and the average user spends 30 minutes browsing videos on their device in any session. That's 30 minutes of mobile video engagement. People are actively going on mobile to consume digital content. Their consumption methods are entirely different to how they approach them on desktop. We're actually seeing that search on mobile is actually incremental to desktop search as opposed to cannibalistic, which is one of the concerns with the initial prevalence of mobile. We can assume, again, that the same is true for mobile consumption of more rich content. Also, Android, we're at 200,000 activations of Android operating system on devices every day across the globe, and of course that number is rising. And Apple, perhaps rather conservatively, estimate iPad ownership at 28 million devices this year. So we all know that mobile is really, really pushing forward. It's actually why most of you are in the room at the moment today. So what we've come in to do at DoubleClick is to actually try and simplify the process that you guys are going to be facing. So, actually missed a slide. Oh yeah, it's way back here. This chap. Hopefully some of you will have seen it. If you haven't, then you really need to start checking your emails and actually accepting images from emails that DoubleClick send you. We announced on January 18th that we had released for HTML5, and it kind of just fizzled out. People still didn't really know what HTML5 was, or indeed what our support was. The reason it's so important, as we've just established, apologies for having to go back, but really do read your newsletters from DoubleClick. Great reads. Was because we decided to support HTML5 within our core rich media platforms. Oh, and again, it's flicked through far too many. Okay, this is DoubleClick Studio. Quick show of hands, how many people have experience using this awesome platform? Okay, great. That's actually quite a lot of hands. For other people, you're probably in accounts or you're art directors, or these people are working for you. For your information, this is what they're using on a fairly regular basis. This is our creative delivery method for rich media creatives. Historically, one would create an ad, give it some details like a name, for instance, then upload your files. These files would be your Flash assets, backup images, any kind of video content, etc. What we've done, excuse me, is provide HTML5 support that complements the processes that you guys are used to. So you'll notice here, this is the files. Resolution is really quite poor on this. But this here, this is an HTML file. And this just down at the bottom here is the JavaScript that's actually created some cool stuff within that HTML. So this is all within the same place as the Flash assets get uploaded. I'll speak more on that in just a moment. Within the events section, this is the more important thing. We're in advertising, so of course everything has to be accountable. We need to understand quite how users are reacting with ads to then establish which are the best ones, to then put those to the guys at Interscope to establish why they're the best ads. You can see here we have two click-through events. One is clearly being delineated as HTML5, the other as Flash. Now, every piece, every single rich media metric that you would come to expect from a rich media ad served through DoubleClick is available through HTML as well as Flash. Isn't that marvelous? Okay, then we go into the preview environment. So this is the preview that you would normally use to see your rich media ads in Flash. You can see here that there's actually now a little toggle, a radio button at the top here that says this is the Flash preview environment and this is the HTML5. I don't know if you noticed that. The button changes. The creative doesn't. Of course, I could have photoshopped that. I assure you, sir, it's true. Unfortunately, I can't demo because there's no keyboard on this. But seriously, we can serve exactly the same content as Flash or HTML5. And this is what I kind of want to address with you guys. You shouldn't necessarily be approaching mobile devices and therefore HTML5 to mobile devices in the same way as you would a normal desktop rich media ad. Of course, there are different, more tangible interaction methods on one compared to the other. If you've got the resource, the time, the budget to actually go ahead and build out different versions of the creative for different devices, then please, by all means, do. If you're, as I'd assume, a little bit pushed for time and money, then why not use awesome tools like Wallaby, as Paul said, it's in labs at the moment. Take your FLA, convert it to HTML output. You might lose a few of the filters, but you still end up with almost the same ad, very, very quick turnaround. Upload those HTML files, having just used a few of our libraries within your JavaScript to put in the DoubleClick tracking. All of a sudden, you've got yourself a campaign that works on desktop, on mobile, on what are they called, tablets. Yeah, really tech savvy. Well done, Scott. So you can start having the same ads on the same on different devices. Isn't that great? Okay, and this is a rather contrived, hastily cobbled together thing. HTML5, it's in the middle of a device and desktop because in the future it is going to start consolidating how we approach these different, these disparate media that we currently have to build for. All right, so you've seen how DoubleClick can now support that. It's a very quick run through, of course. We've also heard quite how users are engaging with content, so we can maybe start taking inspiration from that and factor that into our rich media creatives. We've seen what HTML5 is capable of as a technology if you incorporate CSS3, JavaScript, and of course any other external APIs. What are we going to do with that? Well, I'm proud to announce the HTML5 challenge. This is DoubleClick's attempt to encourage you guys to really start pushing the boundaries of HTML5. Use it as like a launch pad into your own development. If you've just started work on building up a development team to see what you can do with HTML5 and how you can push that to clients at pitch level for advertising campaigns, then you should probably consider taking the HTML5 challenge. What is the challenge? And you know, I'm loath to actually come away from this because it's such a beautiful picture. Unfortunately, let's jump back into the white. Okay, so what we're hoping of you is that you will deliver to us, built in HTML5 and using DoubleClick Studio libraries, a YouTube masthead built in HTML5. As I said, this is really, really up to you guys to start pushing the boundaries. And actually, on that basis, you can't really see it here. The creative agency logo, your name, stick it on there. That's great. It shouldn't be the dominant piece, but it should certainly be included within your masthead. You want to get some exposure for this. And this leads us on to the next part. Creatives for clients or brands are unfortunately not eligible. So what you see there on the right-hand side, it's not going to work. You can't do that for this particular competition. The reason for that will become clear in just a moment. You can If you want to, currently you need to register your intent to then submit your entries. You can do so at richmediagallery.com/html5-challenge. If you just go to the Rich Media Gallery, which is at richmediagallery.com, you can start following it on Twitter at rmgallery, if you're Twitter savvy. Register your intent, and we'll then follow up with instructions as to exactly what to do. Now, once you've delivered this HTML5, what's going to happen? Okay. So, a judging panel of very distinct industry professionals and me, just sandwiching in at the end there, will be judging these entries. They come from 4 regions. We support in the UK, Germany, Italy, and France. And we're going to be judging the top entries within each of those regions. We're going to fly those excuse me, regional winners to the Cannes Lions Festival in June. Lovely, you can have some champagne, enjoy the wonderful weather, but also get some massive exposure for your creative entries. It's just such a great opportunity. The winner, as determined by this aforementioned panel of judges, will win their masthead on YouTube for a day in their country. This is a property that costs thousands and thousands of pounds. This is a really, really expensive placement that we're giving you the opportunity to push your creative agency. If you're a freelancer, of course, get your freelancer company name up there as well. This is a perfect opportunity for you to start really pushing the boundaries of HTML5. Again, treat it as something that's new, maybe as a little test bed to then push on to clients. And if you win, then you win. You know, if you don't, then at least you've tried. But you might also get a flight to Cannes out of it. You know, it's a win-win situation. Okay. So that's pretty much it from me. There are several of my colleagues from DoubleClick who will be hanging around afterwards to drink and also to answer any questions. That's the most important thing. You should have led with that. But also to try and encourage your creativity somewhat. We're talking about masthead units here. These are these massive 97T by 250 units on the YouTube the homepage. As you leave here, in this little ante-room to the side, you'll hopefully notice that we have a graffiti wall that's sat there with a YouTube masthead slot on it, with the opportunity for you to start really eking out that creative talent, and then actually taking that and getting it printed off on a t-shirt so that you can wear it and make everyone watch how awesome you are. Please, I implore of you, have a cocktail. Ask us if you've got any questions about HTML5, technical implications, you know, client implications, whatever you want, we're here to help. Have a go on the graffiti wall, and hopefully we'll see you in the next forum. Thank you very much.